I want to thank you guys for tuning into the Bootz Sports Show. I'm your host, Uncle Bootz, and today we will do a little pregame talk about the Dallas Cowboys and Detroit Lions matchup. This game is a little bit more intriguing to me, and we'll talk about that. Not for so much the obvious, not so much for Reggie Bush or Tony Romo or Matt Stafford, Megatron, Des Bryant. We'll talk about why it's intriguing to me as well. Now, before we get into that, we will first definitely recommend checking out yourdailycowboysfootballfix.com website where you can view this video in its entirety, in addition to other great articles written by a great cast of Cowboy fans, energetic, positive, well-written articles and such as well. There's another website, the Silver and Blue Report. Check that out as well. You know, I try to these Cowboy fans, this fraternity, if you will, has come together, done some real good things, putting positive, influential Cowboy stuff out there. So definitely check this out. Good read. Check us out over there at our respective sites. This matchup between the Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys is intriguing, and for most of us, it's a great game because you look around both teams. There's stars pretty much on both sides of the ball for both teams, and some new young coaches trying to prove themselves on the sidelines. But all that aside, I grew up a Cowboys fan, as well as my brother, who is a year younger than me. He grew up a Detroit Lions fan. So we grew up always having the debates, Detroit Lions, who was better, the Cowboys, who were better, who was a better back, Emmett or Barry. So ad nauseum, these discussions, even fights, and some of them I won, some of them he won, whatever. These arguments have gone on and continue to go on and so this game here, to me, has some emotional ties as well, like I said. So this is going to be a great game, interesting game. My first, let me give you guys a little bit on what I feel about this football team as we stand here sitting on top of the division at 4-3. I personally feel that this Cowboy football team has something going on that's a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. And it really started from the coaching staff. Started from Jason Garrett. He's kind of seems to be making more direct decisions, especially in regarding to the Ratliff. Getting rid of Ratliff, letting him go, test free agency, whatever, cutting him. Putting some rookies out there, cutting Will Allen. Putting the rookie J.J. Wilcox out there on defense. These moves, all stem from Jason Garrett, kind of putting his foot down and taking chances, in a year where he could be, lobbying or auditioning for next year's, job security, so to speak. So there's a lot of things going on, and I feel really good about this team, not only winning the division, but maybe advancing in the playoffs. Now that's where we start to get into how far will they go and all of that conjecture, all that stuff. Now that I can't get into that right now. But what I can say is I feel good about this team's chances playing anybody right now. I mean, you look around the league, you still got to cover us. You still got to, we got enough of a defense, whether it's good or bad, whether it's hot or cold, we got enough of a defense that can cause problems for other quarterbacks and stuff like that. So I feel pretty good about this team once again. However, this game here will go a long way in helping me, helping any jitters that I might have or any doubts that I might have. It will help ease that a little bit and help me feel more confident in this football team. I really believe Dallas is a better football team than Detroit Lions, but I also thought we were better than the San Diego Chargers, and I definitely thought we were better than the Kansas City Chiefs. So sometimes it doesn't matter if you're better. you don't always win in the National Football League. Doesn't mean it. It's who's banged up, who's hot, who's not. Who blew the last big coaching decision in the game, or who threw the last interception. The first touchdown, or whatever. It is so many different variables to football, which makes this sport so amazing. So this game here would really, really, really reel me in and make me start to believe. Now, I'm already believing. I'm seeing talent on the field. I'm watching guys mature in front of me. You're all watching the season that Sean Lee's putting together right now. You want to talk about Brandon Carr, what kind of ball he's playing right now, and let's not forget Tony Romo. And some of these young players are starting to grow right before our eyes. And Travis Frederick and Terrence Williams. J.J. Wilcox was showing his stuff a little bit before he got injured. So, who won't be playing in this game against Detroit Lions, by the way, suffered an injury in practice. So you got to feel good about this team. There's no reason why you shouldn't. And most of the fans that will clown you and tell you that the Cowboys suck, or Cowgirls, or whatever these raggedy emails or Facebook posts that you're seeing, most of the people that are saying that are watching a 1-5 or a 1-6 football team on their own, wearing their own flag. So not too many people talking trash about the Cowboys. But this game, like I said, depending on what happens in this game, can determine, how comfortable we are. When I remember the last time we played the Detroit Lions, and I remember pretty much 28-7. I'm going off the top of my head, so 28-7 we were up. It seemed like we were up really big. Might have been 31-7 if I remember. We were up big in this game, and we just kept throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing the football. And Tony threw 3 interceptions, I think 2 pick sixes. Bobby Carpenter had 1 pick six, but former Dallas Cowboy. But it was the way that we lost that game. Not that we lost it. And if you remember, that was kind of before we found out about DeMarco Murray. Remember, at that time, we were trying to still prove that Felix Jones could be a productive back, or that he would be one, and we were struggling. We were not able to run the football, but we did not give DeMarco a chance. And had we done that in that game, we'd have been able to take that 31-7 lead that we had, or 28-7 lead. We'd have been able to take that huge lead and run the football. We weren't able to do that. That's why Tony was throwing, because we weren't able to run the football consistently. We found out games later that we did have a running back, and a few games later, and that DeMarco Murray would be a solid running back who should be 80% healthy this game, which should be enough to at least give us a threat of a running game. So, things have changed amongst the if you look at both of these teams, a lot of things have changed as far as, let's take a look at it this way. Last year, the Detroit Lions won 4 games. Now, they definitely underachieved, and I believe that coach, if I had to switch hats and I was a fan of the Detroit Lions, their coach would have been gone. So, after that year, they were expected to make a playoff run after, competing in the playoffs the year before, put up a 4-12 season with pretty much the same talent, and having your wide receiver, have an all football world, if you will, all football world season. You got to be expecting playoffs and more than 4 wins. Well, the Cowboys have kind of been an 8-8 team since. So these two teams both sitting there trying to prove themselves at 4-3. They both need this game, which is going to make this game a really, really, really hard-fought game. I'm not a fan of Detroit's cocky coach. And my theory, the way this game should start, and I say this because the Detroit Lions, especially since Schwartz has gone over here and taken the helm, coming from Jeff Fisher, and how it's rumored Jeff Fisher was a guy who liked to play dirty and nasty with his players, and this guy over here comes over to Detroit, and now they lead the league in personal fouls every single year since he's been there. I think this is a game where the Cowboys need a personal foul. The Dallas Cowboys need to, the first pass that's thrown, whether it be Barry Church, and in this case it'll be Jeff Heath. I would have said Wilcox, but he's hurt this week. That's why I intended to do this. Whether it's Jeff Heath or Barry Church one of them needs to see that first slant route, that first pass, and come down. And I mean, the hit should be high, whether it's helmet to helmet, whether it's just a defenseless receiver. That hit needs to happen. It needs to set the tone. And the reason I say this, before you guys kill me with this, they are going to play that way, but they're going to play it on their front line. And Ndamukong Suh is going to late hit. He's going to go at players' knees. He is going to go hands to the face, underneath the face mask, and get up underneath the eyes and stuff. And if the refs don't call it and look out for that, that's going to happen all game. And even if they do call it, he's the type of player that will continue to play that way. The Cowboys need to get into, and I'm not saying get into a personal foul pissing match, but I'm saying they need to set the tone that it's going to be a physical game, but you do that early. You don't do it by mistake. You don't do it by patting yourself on the chest saying, my bad. You do it early and let them know, hey, that wasn't my bad. Let's go. Catch it again in front of me and see what's going to happen, because I'm coming down and I'm hitting the same way. That's how you set the tone, because Calvin Johnson out there, he's a big target. Now, he is a big target. So I would expect the Cowboys to come out and blast whoever catches the ball first. That would be me. So, that being said, they're missing some wide receiver talent in Nate Burleson. So this kid, I believe his name is Chris Durham, Jeff Durham, I don't know, Bull Durham, I don't know who. But I do know this. I know that the kid is coming along, their wide receiver, who is a tall body, which he'll probably play more on Claiborne's side. And Claiborne kind of, if I were to compare this guy to Riley Cooper, something like that, that's the kind of stature and the kind of production you get out of this kid. That's what he looks like when he plays. And Riley Cooper has caused problems for Claiborne. So that matchup is not being talked about. I know everybody wants to talk about Dez Bryant, and I know everybody wants to talk about Megatron, but to think that these guys, are going to be the only guys on the field is mind-boggling, that people aren't talking about the other guys. So I expect these guys to, Claiborne's going to have to play well, because this kid Durham in the early part of the season, and I know this isn't their premier wide receiver, but he's going to make some catches. He was dropping balls when they tried to lean on somebody. And I was telling my brother this. I said, listen, the problem with the Detroit Lions, and he got upset with me because he doesn't like to hear me critique his team. We don't like to hear people critique our teams because we kind of feel like it's coming out of left field. But I said, you need another guy on the side of Megatron. And, we got Nate Burleson. Yeah, well, now you don't because of the injury. But Nate Burleson isn't that guy. Nate Burleson is a great slot guy. You need a Terrence Williams, a Miles Austin. You need that on the other side. You don't have to have Andre Johnson on the other side, but you need that on the other side, because when Calvin's getting doubled like Dez, if they're trying to take Dez out or take Calvin out, then you need somebody else who's kind of could be a one when he needs to be a number one wide receiver. So those are the matchups to look at. That Fourier matchup, the tight end they got playing, he's a pretty good player. You worry about our linebackers in coverage. I would bet that we're one of the worst linebacker covering teams in the National Football League. And this Fourier kid seems like he has a pretty good rapport with Matthew Stafford. So these are ways in which they're going to attack our defense. And lastly, probably should have been first, Reggie Bush. I mean, he's having a decent year. And as a matter of fact, I had gotten into some conversations with my buddies about Reggie Bush, and we've talked about his worth over the years. Was he worth the second overall pick to the New Orleans Saints? And I was at that draft when we found out in line that Reggie Bush wasn't going to be the first pick, that they were going to go with Mario Williams, and Reggie would be the second pick. And I remember hearing that Sean Payton was doing cartwheels down the hallways when he found out that Reggie Bush was going to. So we kind of thought this kid would be a Marshall Faulk type Hall of Fame player. Well, he really hasn't been that, or he wasn't that for the Saints. They didn't get that out of him at the running back position. They got a dynamic returner, but they didn't get the running back. Hence the reason they drafted Mark Ingram, and he just never was really that in between tackles running back for the Saints. For whatever reason, it didn't show up on film. Now he goes to Miami, shows off a little bit, looks really good, like he can run between the tackles, and now he's in Detroit, and he's playing well. Now, supposedly he got hurt in practice the other day, so he hurt his knee pretty bad, or he's walking around with ice on it. We're not in Detroit. We don't hear all the little intricacies that go on, but I do know that he's not going to come into the game 100%, but he's still athletic enough to make plays in this game. Now, what you have to like, and I believe this has to happen, because I don't do keys on this show. We don't talk keys here on the Bootz Sports Show. We really don't, because the keys are all the same. Every time you hear a game, what do you hear? Oh, you got to stop the run. Oh, you got to run the ball. Oh, you got to get to the quarterback. Oh, you got to move him out the pocket. You hear the same keys every single game. Well, don't turn the ball over. Well, you got to get more turnovers. I mean, that we don't do that here, because it's same. You use those formulas. You apply them to every game, and every team in the National Football League can beat Team A, can beat Team B, no matter who they are. But you look at the way the Dallas Cowboys played the Philadelphia Eagles, and the way they were able to play the run and the pass out of the backfield. I'm talking about they tried LaShawn McCoy on some perimeter plays, and they also tried him on some wheel routes, singled him up on Bruce Carter, because I know they saw that he struggled with Danny Woodhead, and even though I didn't think he struggled that bad, I just thought he got beat on two pretty good throws. It didn't seem like he was running behind Danny Woodhead. He got his hand up and the ball was outstretched. It was a perfect throw. Phillip Rivers was automatic that game against us. So the Philadelphia Eagles saw Bruce Carter struggling and said, we're going to go out and do that. And they got a pass interference call out of it on one play where Bruce was in good position then and didn't need to panic, just needed to get his head around a little quicker. Would have saw that the ball was out, out of the reach of the running back. But he's still in position. So he's going to have to play that way against Reggie Bush. And they've proven that their philosophy against the Philadelphia Eagles, stopping the run, holding LaShawn McCoy to, whatever it was, 19 carries for 58 yards. I don't know what it was. But they can play that and attack that same way against Reggie Bush. And that blueprint, I expect to see man coverage. I expect to see some safety help over the top with Megatron, because if you play, he's a hard guy to bring down. He's not dead hard to bring down, but he's angular. And his leverage, it just seems like, because he's so tall, guys fall off him a lot. And he turns up and gets upfield pretty nicely. He's not like Dez, where he's going to drag all these guys and he's going to stiff. He's not that. But they're different guys. I know there's a lot of comparison between them. They are different, and they're better at some things than the other one. So of course Megatron is the best wide receiver in the game. I'm not even going to say that he's not. To break Jerry Rice's record and do what this guy did it's all time. I mean, the guy could have caught for people thought he was going to catch for 2,000 yards, last year, and however many touchdowns they thought. This guy, anything's a limit. 2,200, anything. So Dez still has a way to go, but Dez is just different. It's different. He just does it differently. But I don't think for not one. If Dez was on that team and he was the only offensive option on that team out, passing, Dez could definitely, and I don't like to project numbers and I don't get into all that proration, Dez can do those things too. So, anyway, Cowboys apply that blueprint that you played against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I really, really think that you'll win this football game. I don't know about going away. It's on the road. It's going to be loud. Our offensive line isn't good when they have to deal with crowd noise. That was a big, big reason why the Dallas Cowboys, started out slow against the Eagles, is because the crowd noise was so loud. It was very loud there, from everybody that was at the game in the Dallas Cowboys contingent, if you will. Those guys were saying that the game was so loud. So, we're going to get a dose of Megatron. For the folks that don't know who Brandon Carr is, and I know Cowboy fans know who he is, but I've talked to some people that have told me who was better than Carr, whether it been Ike Taylor or whether it been, over the years, whether it had been Namdi or whether it had been Revis. And I'm not going to take anything away from Revis because Revis is the best that I've seen since Dion. And he's starting to come into form this year. But Brandon Carr, the year he's having right now, he's turning it on. And I didn't know this. And this is the things we don't know about players when we start judging, players. And, oh, this guy had a bad game. You don't know what injuries they're dealing with, that they're playing through because they don't want to sit out. They want to be the best option out there. But Brandon Carr was supposed to be playing with some knee tendonitis that is starting to heal itself up. And you can see an elevated level in his game. So he's playing real well. I look for that matchup. And let me tell you, let's go back a little bit. When Brandon Carr was brought here, one of the selling points that made him so enticing, the Kansas City Chiefs had played, and this is when Brandon Carr played with the Kansas City Chiefs. For folks who don't know, that's where we got him from as a free agent. He played against the Detroit Lions, and he had a banner day covering. And you can go look this up in his Kansas City Chiefs highlights. He played like glue on Megatron, and I'm surprised that hasn't been brought up a lot because that was one of the things. If you remember when there were rumors, we were looking because the last time we saw Brandon Carr, we saw Miles Austin catching 200. The last time we can recall when he wasn't on our team, Miles Austin was running for 250 yards receiving. And Brandon Carr had a little bit of that too. It wasn't all on him, but he was in there. So we didn't know what we were getting when we were talking Brandon Carr and Cortland Finnegan. We didn't know really what kind of player we were getting. So when you went back and you started watching film on him, you saw that Detroit game. Cowboys organization saw that Detroit game. This is the best wide receiver in the league. Let's see how he stacked up. Well, he played a lot of single coverage on him and was right there in his shoulder. I tell you, I want to see this matchup because Dez doesn't have to go against a Brandon Carr. The Achilles heel for the Detroit Lions has always been that they don't have defensive backs. And I'm not going to say that they don't have anybody, but they don't have a Brandon Carr. They might have a Morris Claiborne, but they don't have a Brandon Carr. Dez Bryant should be able to get some, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, how he's going to get open, how I want to see him get open. So, going into that, let's just get right into it. I think that the Cowboys need to run some empty sets in this game. I like the Cowboys empty for years and years and years. I've been saying I want to see empty sets. I want to see no back on the field. And if I do, he should be up as a wide receiver. And get the ball out quick. And this is the Cole Beasley game. It might not be 180 yards, but it might be 8 catches. It might be 8 catches for 67 yards. I know everybody wants to talk about who's going to get more out of Dez Bryant and Megatron, but this game might come down to Cole Beasley versus Chris Durham. Okay? Like, that's where we're going to have to compensate. And the thing that I love, and I got to give my girl Cassara Cass over at Your Daily Cowboys Football Fix.com, I got to give her credit because she's been standing on the table from training camp about this little kid. Standing on the table. Gotta have him. Must make the team. No question. Well, Cole Beasley, she was right about this kid. He gets open early. And that's going to be, he's the only guy, unless Miles is healthy, that can get open early and win the route early. Even Dez, the one thing that I'll say the difference, if people want to compare Dez and Calvin Johnson, Dez doesn't get open as early as Calvin does. Calvin runs his slant. Calvin is already open, reach, stretched out here. Dez is still covered. Dez has got to run away from a guy for, and that's not, like I said, they each got their own, thing they do well. But the only guy on this team that's getting open early, and it is Cole Beasley. So this is going to be a game where I expect them to go empty, and they're going to rush that group of 4, and they're going to get pressure. Trust me. I need to see Cole Beasley, stopping, running that smash route that he runs. He runs a couple nice little routes that no one else can run on our team. He runs them well. So those are going to be leak plays for Tony to drop the ball off and get out quick. And Cole can make people miss. I mean, the guy's got good hands for a short guy, 5'7". If you're lucky, he's 5'7", 5'8". That it's going to be up to him to kind of set the tone in this game, because that will determine the linebacker depth. It'll determine shades, and if he starts to become a problem, now you start to notice Jason Witten getting open inside. Or what I love, Cowboys didn't do this yet, but if you watched Oklahoma State with Joseph Randall, he would take the play action, still run, sit down at 10 yards or 8 yards and turn around and catch the ball. He did that a lot. He ran an option route off of that too a lot, where he got singled up with a linebacker and determined which way to go, and they got the ball out. That's where you can start seeing one-on-one opportunities where our running backs, whether it's DeMarco Murray or Randall or Dunbar, who's supposed to be healthy and will probably be active, hopefully utilize this game. So the Cowboys have some options, and some options in Dunbar at the running back position. For the folks who don't really follow the Cowboys, he's a speedy, young, small running back who's finally active, and when we've seen him, he's made plays, but he's also put the ball on the ground and gotten hurt. So this is a guy that they don't have a lot of film on this kid to know how we're going to use Dunbar. We saw him in spots. So these are ways the Cowboys can efficiently move the ball down the field without having to heave it up to Dez and force the ball to Dez every single play. Force the ball to Witten. We don't have to do that in this game. Don't let them dictate how we play our guys. They want to throw the ball to Megatron and keep forcing it to him and make him get 18, 19, 20 targets. Then you do that and take your chances. Now, this quarterback, Matt Stafford, he's got a big arm. He's got a lightning arm. And the thing that worries me about him is he can run. So this is what you look at. When you run empty, these are the drawbacks. Now, this is my thing. I want us to run empty, when these guys do that wide pressure up front, and then our guys start, that opens up, he can run. Matt Stafford can run. And he can also get the ball out there and get it there quickly. So it is going to be it will not be as easy as spread them open and throw it, because once the kid makes you pay, you got to reach. But I still think that's the way we win this football game. So hopefully we'll see some of these guys use these open, empty slots, and I think what will happen when they start this pass rush, because the Detroit Lions, even though they might not have a lot of sacks, they do have a very, very consistent pass rush, and you will see that. But what I think it will do, I think the Cowboys can run a lot of draw out of here. I don't want tight. I don't want everybody tight. I want spread. So if we're gonna run draw, I want 4 wide and the back and the tight end. I want draw plays being ran where Tony's looking and then you see the pressure coming, and then you hand the ball off to a Dunbar, who all he have to do is get in between that rush, and or a DeMarco Murray. Like, that's how we have to run the football. I think we can do that effectively and win this football game. So, I really believe that we are the more explosive team. We are the most consistent defense. I really think that. I think that if you look at our defense, now we got to go out there and do it, because when you start looking at our front line, you're not going to see names like Ndamukong Suh or Nick Fairley. You're not going to see Ziggy Ansah out there. You're not going to see that. So, but when you look at the stat line and you look at the production, you're going to say, well, guess what? They got some guys out there that can play ball. So, I'm looking forward to this game. Excited. Like I said, there's a brotherly rivalry, and with it, so we'll go ahead and we will go ahead and prepare for a playoff run, which will have to start this week. Like, the run starts this week. Winning the division is one thing. We can win a division, lose this game, but I think the playoff run, this is where you segregate yourself from the rest of the league. If the Cowboys are going to be anything that people think they are, or our organization thinks we are, they have to win. And I'm a little bit, I'm not fair with it, because I look at it like, look, this team won 4 games last year. So They were a 4-win football team. How much better? And I know it's a different league. It's a night and day league. But there's still 4-win talent on that football field. And that's a fact. So get out there, cover the likes of Chris Durham. Get out there and cover Pettigrew and Fourier. You know, it's a lot to be said, but we got the horses. That's why you draft, Claiborne in the first round, 6th pick overall. That's why you trade up and get him. That's what you do. That's why you go and give Brandon Carr $50 million. That's why you extend Orlando Scandrick and give him $25 whatever million to be the best nickel corner in the game, which, by the way, he's playing outstanding. And don't sleep on don't sleep on our new safety who we know about. We know about this kid. Jeff Heath has showed up. If you go back and look at my earlier videos, probably the first one we seen, the first one I did this year on preseason, I talked about Heath. I know he's not as rangy as Wilcox. He would have never made that play to Deshaun Jackson that Wilcox made. Let's be fair about that. But he also wasn't. He's not going to miss that tackle, that third down tackle on Riley Cooper. He's not going to fall into the guy and not hit him and take him down when he has him behind the sticks. So Jeff Heath is going to come out and play. I'm feeling confident about him, especially in run support. So guys, I'm going to sign off here. Fill up the comments down at the bottom. Also, thumbs up, likes, all of that is welcome here, as well as your opinions. One thing about on the Bootz Sports Show, I solicit any feedback, negative, positive, whatever it is, because all of our contributions, what we do together, when we start talking together and thinking and recommending, it helps you think of other ideas, because there's no one way to win a football game. So there's no one way to be a fan either. So don't feel like you don't have an opinion. If you see something, maybe you think, Gavin Escobar should be used in the slot more, or whatever you feel, fill it up. And I do my best to answer every question. I think I do a pretty decent job of it. I answer every question, every statement, I comment. So definitely do that. Don't forget, check out your daily CowboysFootballFocus.com. In addition to the Silver and Blue Report, let's get this Cowboy victory and let's get this playoff run started. Now, if this doesn't happen, I'm going to be real disappointed, because I got to deal with a sibling that normally we can have conversations where we might not talk for 4 months over this freaking game. So it can be ugly. So I can't have that going on. I can't be dealing with that. And y'all already know. Y'all know how long it takes me to get over these losses. I mean, I haven't had to deal with a loss in a few weeks. So, this will be back-to-back-to-back road wins. If the Cowboys go back-to-back-to-back road wins, man, oh man. Well, anyway, guys, I'm out of here, Cowboy Nation. Let's get this victory. Let's get this playoff run started. Peace.